How is it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with my Big 12 conference preview / prediction video for the upcoming college football season. Much like my SEC and Big 10 video, I am going to list how I believe the standings will end up in the Big 12. Unlike the other divisions, Big 12 does not have separate divisions. They only have 10 teams, so it should be kind of quicker. And just like the other ones, going to list the standings and then talk a little bit about each team afterwards and probably even give you a record, because I have them right here just like the other videos. And I'm going to make this in kind of a rush because I have something to do in about 20-25 minutes. So let's get started. Coming in at number 10, I have Kansas. Number 9, Iowa State. Number 8, Kansas State. 7th place, I have West Virginia. 6th place Baylor. 5th place, TCU. 4th place, Texas Tech. 3rd place, Oklahoma. 2nd place, Texas. And winning the Big 12, I have Oklahoma State. So let's get started real quick with Oklahoma State. They're going to be a very, very talented team coming back. I have them going 11-1, 8-1 in conference play. Losses. The only loss on the season, I have them losing to Baylor in an upset. I actually have them kind of looking forward to the Oklahoma game to round out the season on December 7th. And Baylor is a good team, and I think Baylor will have a couple upsets during the season. But for Oklahoma State, they bring back 8 guys on offense, 7 guys on defense. Very, very talented offense. And they've been a very talented offense under Mike Gundy as head coach. This is his 9th season as head coach at Oklahoma State. And they did lose Wes Lunt to a transfer to Illinois, but that was because he has 2 really good quarterbacks ahead of him on the depth chart. One of those being Clint Shelf, the senior, and then J.W. Walsh. They all split time last year, but they all were very productive. And I think Clint Shelf has the opportunity to put up some of the best numbers in the Big 12, not only because he's a talented quarterback, but he has probably the best wide receiver core in all the Big 12. Yes, Charlie Moore, Tracy Moore, Josh Stewart, Blake Jackson, and it just goes on. Just a very talented wide receiver core. Some of the best wide receivers in the Big 12 as a whole. And they also have a pretty good running back coming back. I know they did actually lose Joseph Randall to the NFL draft last year. But Jeremy Smith, senior, coming back. He actually put up some pretty good numbers last year as having being a backup. So they should have a decent running game. I mean, they've been a team that throws the ball a lot, but they've actually had a really, really underrated running game the past few years. So that's something to look out for. And one thing that Oklahoma State fans should be confident in is if the fact that Clint Shelf doesn't really perform up to his expectations, they got a guy right underneath him, J.W. Walsh, who can put up great numbers as well. So they should be very, very, very confident coming into the season. And have them beating Mississippi State, Texas San Antonio, Lamar, West Virginia, Kansas, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Kansas. And the game against Texas is going to be the game that decides the Big 12, really. But I have Oklahoma State beating Texas, and Oklahoma, I have them beating Oklahoma. So that's pretty much it. They do have some this is something that's not really been coming out of Oklahoma State the past couple of years. They're going to have a talented defense coming back. They have actually a very good secondary. Justin Gilbert, D'Antone Lowe, Kevin Peterson's also a young guy that's kind of talented. Calvin Barnett on the inside, the senior, and Sean Lewis, who's a first-team All-Big 12 linebacker, senior coming back. And they also have another middle linebacker, Caleb Levy, who's a senior, who will be coming back, and another senior on the end, Tyler Johnson. So they have a very talented defense, 7 guys coming back. So that's something that's not been very likely and very normal, I guess you could say, out of Oklahoma State defense. So that's something that I believe will strive them to, will lead them to 11-1 and a Big 12 championship. So there you have it for Oklahoma State. Let's move on because I gotta make this quick. Moving on to Texas, I have them going 10-2, 7-2 in conference plays. Losses coming to Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. So they'll have wins against New Mexico State, BYU, Mississippi, which is Ole Miss, Kansas State, Iowa State, TCU, Kansas, and West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Baylor. And that Baylor game can actually be a toss-up there. But Texas, they should be better this year than they've been in years past. The Oklahoma game will be close. It's not going to be a blowout like it's been in years past, but I don't expect them to beat Oklahoma. There's a couple toss-up games on there which Texas might actually lose, but I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Mississippi's Ole Miss is going to be a tough game. BYU is going to be a tough game, as will Texas Tech and Baylor. But they have a lot of guys returning, and by a lot I mean a lot. They have 19 returning starters, 10 on the offensive side of the football, 9 on the defensive side of the football. David Ash, I believe, will have a breakout year. Will be a very good quarterback. I think he's probably second or third best quarterback in the Big 12 coming back. A good running back in Jonathan Gray, who played a lot last year as a freshman. Good wide receivers, Mike Davis, Jackson Shipley, with a experienced core on the offensive line coming back. They have 3 seniors and the other 2 being juniors. They got Donald Hawkins, Josh Cochran, and Mason Walters as the seniors, and Dominique Espinoza and Trey Hopkins as the juniors. Well, sorry, Jonathan Cochran is a junior, and Trey Hopkins, the left guard, is a senior. But they also have some talent on the defense side of football, which has been the case the last couple of years, and it's been the offense that struggled for Texas pretty much the last couple of years and gave them the losses, really. And the defense, well, I take that back. The offense has been okay. I mean, it's been kind of back and forth. One game, offense will struggle. Next game, defense will struggle. So, kind of take back that statement. But the defense should be quite well this year. Maybe the best defense in the Big 10 or Big 12. Sorry. Let's see. They have Jackson Jeffcoat coming back. Very good guy off the end. Senior coming back. Jordan Hicks, one of the best linebackers in the Big 12. Adrian Phillips will be a good safety, taking over for Kenny Vaccaro. So, all in all, going to be a good year for Texas, I believe. Steve Edmond, linebacker. So, let's see. Like I said, this is really a make-or-break-it year for Mack Brown. If he underperforms expectations, doesn't make it to 9-10 wins, this could be his last year as a Texas Longhorn head coach. He's been there for 16 years. So, I think Texas faithful are definitely growing weary with Mack Brown, coming impatient. So, make or break it year. They could win. They could go 10-2, 11-1, but also they have a bunch of games that are toss-up games that they could possibly lose. So, Texas coming in second place in the Big 12. I have them going 10-2, 7-2 in conference play. So, moving on to number 3 in the conference, I have Oklahoma going 8-4, 7-2 in conference play. Have them losing. This is probably a huge shocker, and I wish I'd rather not be saying this because I'll probably get a lot of hate. But actually, have them getting upset week 1 by Louisiana Monroe, losing to Notre Dame, losing at Baylor, and at Oklahoma State. I know I'm getting a ton of hate for that, but I think week 1 that's really gonna shock the world. Louisiana Monroe, second year in a row, is gonna have a huge upset week 1. Last year, and a couple of times in the last few years, they've been upset and struggled in their week 1 game. Last year, they were played very, very tough by UTEP, and they ended up winning that game 24-7. The year before that, they beat Tulsa pretty handily, but the year before that, Utah State only won by a touchdown. And Utah State, that wasn't the Utah State last year. Wouldn't have been surprised if it was a close game. The year before that, Utah State hasn't been such a great team, so that was a tough game. BYU the year before they lost, actually 13-14, was upset in that game. They were actually number 3 at the time. So Oklahoma's been known in the last couple of years to struggle week 1, and Louisiana Monroe, I think they'll be overlooking them. Colton Brownie is a heck of a quarterback for Louisiana Monroe, so don't expect to see Oklahoma with an upset week 1. And Notre Dame, I think they'll lose this game. Notre Dame's going to be tough, and they're playing at Notre Dame, so that's going to be a tough one. And Baylor, like I said, will have a couple upsets this year because Baylor I'm not even sure if you consider that an upset because Baylor's going to be a very, very good team this year. And like I said, I have Oklahoma State winning the division. That's going to be very tough for Oklahoma to win that game in Stillwater last week of the season. But Oklahoma brings back 7 offensive starters. And the biggest loss on the offensive side of the football, I guess you could say, is quarterback Landry Jones. And they only bring back 4 guys on the defensive side of the football, so that's going to be very, very tough for Oklahoma to replace. And they will struggle, I believe, on defense this year. Definitely. But the biggest question mark on the whole entire team, well, the defense is a big question mark, but the number one question mark is Blake Bell, because we all know him as the Blake Dozer. He can run the football, no doubt, but can he throw the football? Because he really has not thrown the football much in the last couple of years. Last year, he only had 16 attempts, and he did play quite a bit. He actually had 60 rushes for 22 yards and 11 touchdowns, because they mainly used him in the red zone, but you did not see him throw the ball. So I'm kind of questionable rather Blake Bell can throw the football like Oklahoma does in years past. I mean, Landry Jones last year had 555 attempts. I'm not sure if you see Blake Bell able to do that. If he cannot do that, I'm not sure how effective that Oklahoma offense can be. I know they can run the ball. He can run it. Damian Williams can run it. Jalen Saunders can catch the ball, but do they have the guy that can actually get him the football? I mean, they have a good offensive line coming back, so I'm not sure if they can go more in the direction of a run type of I'm not sure if you'd call it more of a spread type offense, more running the ball, with the experienced offensive line and the running backs that they have and the vulnerability of Blake Bell. But that's not really the Oklahoma you've seen in years past, so that'll be interesting to see. And I think that has them coming up for I guess Oklahoma fans would call it a disappointing season. I mean, 8-4, so get them to a decent bowl game, possibly the Cotton Bowl. But the inexperienced defense and the question marks on the offense, I just think Oklahoma's going to be in for a disappointing year. I mean, they're still going to be a good team, but a couple upsets. They actually have the second toughest schedule in the country, so that doesn't really combine well. So Oklahoma, decent year, having gone 8-4. So let's move on to number 4, which might surprise some people, and I don't actually have them as my dark horse, but I have them being successful this year, and that is the Texas Tech Red Raiders. All the magazines, all the preseason predictions don't have them topping last year's 8-5 record. I actually have them going 8-4 in the regular season. That's not really counting a bowl game or anything, so they could possibly win a 9th game. So I guess you could say I have them at least matching last year's record, going 5-4 in conference play. Have them losing to West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Texas. That's a tough 3-game stretch at the end of October, the beginning of November, with Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. West Virginia, Oklahoma State in a row. I think, what did I say? I believe, let me say that again. I have them losing West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Texas. I think I accidentally might have messed up there, but actually have them beating Baylor. That could be a toss-up game. Actually have them winning their first 6 games of the season. So if that's the case, they're going to end up being ranked top 15. If they end up, well, actually, they'll be the week 7. They'll be undefeated and have them losing in week 8 to West Virginia, which will be a shootout there. The first 6 games have them beating SMU, Stephen F. Austin, TCU, which would be a tough one. I think they pull it out. It's at home on a Thursday night. Texas State, because, I mean, anything can happen on a Thursday night game. But I have them beating Kansas and Iowa State to start out the year. And have them also beating Kansas State, Baylor, and losing to Texas last week of the season. But like I said, anything can happen on a Thursday, and they're playing at Texas on a Thursday night. So we'll have to see what happens there. But Texas Tech, they bring back a lot on defense. First-year head coach Cliff Kingsbury. I think they're going to be a good team. They only have 5 guys returning on the offensive side of the football, but with Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach, they're going to have a really good offense. And the defense is going to be the question, but bringing back that much talent on defense, they're going to be a good team, I believe. Michael Brewer, I think, is going to excel in an offense by Cliff Kingsbury. Going to be throwing the ball a ton. 2 pretty good receivers. Eric Ward, the best receiver coming back. He's going to be a senior this year. Javon Bell, also a senior. Jason Mara, the tight end wide receiver hybrid. He's going to be a junior. He's a big target, which I believe Michael Brewer will be hitting a lot this year. And I think actually the biggest question mark on the offensive side of the football isn't the uh, the skill position players, it's the offensive line. They have an inexperienced offensive line. They have 3 sophomores starting, a redshirt freshman, and a junior. So with the combination of being inexperienced and having to learn new schemes, that could be the big question mark. But like I said, I don't see the quarterback position being a problem. A good running back in Kenny Williams coming back. He actually ran for he had 859 yards running last year, 5 touchdowns. So, and they also bring back Sadell Foster at the running back position. But anyways, Texas Tech, like I said, a good team. They're experienced on the defense side of the football, which would be the main question mark coming into the season. So that's always a plus. Offense, I don't believe is going to be a problem, but protecting the quarterback and running the football, I believe, is the biggest problem for Tech coming into the season. But anyways, with the combination of everything, I think they're going to be quite successful and surprising in Cliff Kingsbury's first year. Have them going 8-4, 5-4 in conference play. Got to speed this up some, man. Coming in at number 5 in the conference, I have TCU going 8-4, 5-4 in conference play. Have them losing to Texas Tech week 3, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State, Texas, and that is it. And probably the biggest surprise is the fact that I have them winning week 1 against LSU. I think LSU, if you watch my SEC video, I'm not very high in LSU this year. I actually have them losing 5 games, and TCU, I believe, week 1 playing in Arlington, so it'd pretty much be a home game for TCU. They're gonna shock the world, I guess you could say. Not necessarily to me, to other people probably because it's big bad LSU. TCU is gonna be a good team this year, and they're always gonna be a good team under Gary Patterson in his 13th year here at TCU. And I'm surprised a bigger program hasn't really snagged him up yet, but they're gonna be a heck of a team. They have 7 guys returning on offense, 9 on defense, and the biggest guy they get back on offense is quarterback Casey Pahal. He's going to be a senior this year, suspended for most of last year after, I believe it was drug charges or whatever. But even if Casey Pahal struggles, they have Trevon Boykin who can come in, and he was very effective last year. People really underrated him and didn't really give credit where it was needed when Casey Pahal went down, but he played very well. But I don't expect Casey Pahal to have any problems. He's a very good quarterback, one of the best in the Big 12 returning. He has some good targets to throw to, and Brandon Carter, Cam White, Ladarius Brown. They did lose their biggest target last year in Josh Boyce, but Brandon Carter coming back had over 500 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns, and that was with their second string quarterback. And Brandon Carter coming back, he he ran the ball. Sorry, Aaron Green last year. I'm drawing a blank here, but Aaron Green should be a good running back in that offense. And under Gary Patterson, no matter what you're going to have on defensive talent, they're going to be a good defense. And that's not saying when he has 9 guys coming back from a pretty good defense last year. So that's a really good thing for TCU. They're going to be very talented on the defensive side of the football, very talented on the offensive side of the football. And out of all the games they play, don't surprise if they pull an upset maybe against Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas, or have them, like I said, beating LSU week 1. Sorry, I'm getting kind of distracted here. That's why I'm kind of messing up here. But let's move on to Baylor. But like I said, TCU, very talented team. Have them going 8-4 in the Big 12. So moving on to number 6, and I can go ahead and finally say my dark horse to win the Big 12 with the possibility of doing so is Baylor. I have them going 8-4, 5-4 in the Big 12. Have them losing to Kansas State, Texas Tech, TCU, and Texas. That's actually why I have TCU number 5 above Taylor's, because they won the head-to-head in my predictions. But I have them beaten Wofford, Buffalo, Louisiana Monroe, West Virginia, so they possibly could come out to 4 straight wins. Have them losing to Kansas State. Like I said, I have them beating Iowa State, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. That's 2 upsets right there. And I mean, if that's the case, they possibly could pull more upsets. Maybe beating Texas, TCU. Texas Tech is a toss-up game, but I have Texas Tech winning that game actually. But also, there's a bad side of that. They could possibly lose Louisiana Monroe. Like I said, Louisiana Monroe is going to be a dangerous team. I actually have them upset in Oklahoma week 1, which is probably my biggest upset in all of my picks this whole entire year. And they possibly could beat Kansas State. But they're going to be a good team. They've been a really good offensive team the past couple of years. Art Briles is always finding a way to get it done. This is his 6th year here at Baylor after leaving Houston. I mean, they thought there was going to be a big drop-off in production last year, losing RG3, and Nick Florence actually outperformed RG3, stats-wise anyways, and broke the school record for passing yards, and I expect that the trend to continue with Bryce Petty as the quarterback, because people expect him to be even better than Nick Florence was. And some people actually have him, even though he didn't play last year, to be, well, he played but didn't start last year, to be the best quarterback in the Big 12, and I definitely could see so. They have some pretty good wide receivers. Robbie Rhodes, he's going to be the freshman. People are really high on him. Tevin Reese, Corey Coleman, who's a redshirt freshman. And they have experience in the offensive line, 3 seniors and 2 young guys in the middle. So, offensive-wise, I think Baylor's going to be just okay. I mean, not just okay. They're going to be good. They're going to be okay on the offensive side of the football, just like they've been in years past. As long as Art Briles is going to be there and they have talent at the quarterback position, they're going to be good. And they have Bryce Petty for another 2 years. Not to mention the guy that claims he's going to win the Heisman this year, Lachey Seastrunk, who I believe will be very, very good. He was great last year. He's actually a transfer from Oregon. He's a junior this year, and I believe he'll light up the scoreboards this year. Not only out of the backfield, but catching the football out of the backfield as well. And the defensive side of the football, they bring back 7 guys. So they're going to be they're actually really inexperienced on the front 7. But Bryce Hager, their linebacker, is very, very good. Eddie Lakey is another good linebacker. Good guys in the back in the secondary. Joe Williams, corner, and Ahmad Dixon, the safety. So, and the really only talented guy and experienced guy in the front 7, the front 4, I would say, is probably Chris McAllister, their defensive end, who is going to be a senior this year. But aside from that, the line, actually, they run a 4-3 scheme at Baylor, but they have 2 sophomores and a freshman starting at nose guard. So they're going to be inexperienced in the front 4, but the back 7, I believe, will actually be better than it's been in years past for Baylor, so that will actually probably lead to a little bit more success on the defensive side of the football compared to years past, because their defense has not known to be very well the last few years. But let's move on here. Like I said, Baylor 8-4 in Big 12 play, going 5-4. 7, I have West Virginia going 6-6, 3-6 in Big 12 play. Let's see, I have them losing to Oklahoma week 2, Oklahoma State, at Baylor, at TCU, home against Texas, and probably a lot of people will consider this an upset, but at Kansas, I have them losing, but I have them beating Iowa State last week. So the wins, I guess I'm going to tell you, pretty easy at a conference schedule. I have them beating William & Mary, Georgia State, which is their first year in FBS in the Sun Belt Conference. Have them beating Maryland, which could be a back and forth toss-up game. They actually beat Maryland last year 31-21. That was the first game that the offense didn't perform as well as expected. Wins against Texas Tech and Iowa State, like I said. That Texas Tech game also could be a toss-up game. Texas Tech could easily win that game. But West Virginia is just going to be quite a question mark this year on both sides of the football, because their defense was not great at all last year. It was actually, I guess you could say, terrible. And they bring back 7 guys off that defense coming back. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be better or worse this year, which I do expect them to be a little bit better than last year. They can't get any worse than they were last year, and bring back 7 guys. It should be better. But on the offensive side of the football, they only bring back 3 starters, and that definitely is a big question mark. The offensive line is going to be a struggle. Gonna have to see how Clint Trickett can do as the quarterback. He's a transfer from Florida State. Um, and I really never was impressed with him at Florida State, so I'm not sure why people are believing he's going to be the savior of West Virginia and play just as well as Geno Smith did last year, and that's a huge drop off last year. I mean, a big loss from last year's Geno Smith. But not only they lose Tavon Austin, um, Shane Austin, the receivers, Stedman Bailey, J.D. Woods, Ivan McCartney. They bring back Jordan Thompson and Andrew Bowie, and that's about it. But they do get the transfer from Houston, James Sims, who's supposed to be a very good running back. So we're gonna see how they do there, and he can actually play this year. He's going to be a senior because he has his degree already from Houston. So, the skill position players from West Virginia shouldn't be too much of a question mark. They should be okay this year. Not as effective as last year, but I'm not sure how effective as they'll be. I mean, they have a talent, but the offensive line is not gonna be good this year. I don't believe. A couple young guys on the O-line and just inexperience as a whole. I just don't see it for West Virginia. I don't see it being a great year. I do have them going to a bowl game, but big part of that because of the out-of-conference schedule, getting 3 wins in the out-of-conference schedule. But anyways, let's go with West Virginia going 6-6, 3-6 in Big 12 play. Moving on to Kansas State at number 8, going 6-6, 3-6 in Big 12 play. Reason being they're behind West Virginia is the fact that they have them losing the head-to-head to West Virginia. The Kansas State have them losing to Texas, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, TCU, and Oklahoma. That's a Texas, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, TCU, and Oklahoma. Yeah, that's 6-6. And wins coming against North Dakota State, Louisiana Lafayette, UMass, Baylor, Iowa State, and Kansas. And the Baylor game, Iowa State game can be toss-ups because they do not bring back a lot from last year. And another game, a potential upset, is going to be that Louisiana Lafayette game. I expect them to win, but they shouldn't be overlooking Louisiana Lafayette because they're not a bad team down there in Lafayette. But all in all, Bill Snyder is the head coach. His second or third year coming back out of retirement, 22nd year total at Kansas State as head coach. One of the best coaches in all of football. He takes the talent that he gets and makes it work in his system. Might not be the best talent, gets a ton of JUCOs, and he always makes it work somehow. But I don't think it's going to be enough this year. They only bring back 2 starters on the defensive side of the football, 8 on the offensive side of the football. Biggest loss, of course, is Calvin Klein. Wow, Colin Klein, the quarterback, the senior from last year, who was known as one of the best players in all of college football, was actually a Heisman candidate. Made it to he finished behind Johnny Manziel and Manti Te'o in the race last year. But their quarterback this year, it's going to be interesting to see who actually starts for them. It's either going to be Jake Waters or Daniel Sams. Actually, I believe it'll be Daniel Sams because he actually played last year and he looked effective because Colin Klein got banged up a little bit last year and he actually completed 6 out of 8 passes in mop-up duty, and when Colin Klein got hurt, and he ran 32 times for 243 yards. So Daniel Sams has the running ability that Colin Klein did. Maybe he's a little bit faster. Colin Klein's a bigger type guy, breaking tackles, Tim Tebow style runner. But Daniel Sams more of a shifty type, fast type quarterback for Kansas State. But we'll have to see how Jake Walters do. I have not seen Jake Walters play. I believe he might be a JUCO transfer. That's why I have not seen him play. But coming back also on the other side of the football, John Hubert, the running back, was effective last year. He ran for 995 yards, 15 touchdowns, so almost broke the 1,000-yard mark. Jermaine Thompson, a talented wide receiver. Tyler Lockett, another talented wide receiver. And they lost their tight end Travis Tannehill from last year. I'm trying to read my notes here. But their offensive line should be decent. They have 3 starters on the offensive line coming back, 3 seniors. I'm sorry, they have 3 seniors coming back, and they have B.J. Finley and Cody Whitehair in the middle. And on the defensive side of the football, the only talented guy that I probably would have in as a All-American in the Big 12 is probably Ty Zimmerman, probably one of the best safeties actually in all of the country. And I don't think that's enough to be an effective defense right away with all the new starters. But they shouldn't be bad, but they're not going to be as good as they've been in years past. So Kansas State got them going 6-6, 3-6 in Big 12 play. Now let's move on to number 9. Number 9, yes, that's Iowa State. Let's talk about this for a second. I kind of was mixed up here. I had Kansas at number 9, Iowa State at number 10 at first. That's because I had Kansas with a better overall record, but they had the same record in conference play. But I had Iowa State winning the head-to-head game, and I was kind of confused on that front because I thought if one team had the better overall record, they were ranked higher in the conference, and I turned out to be wrong. I actually had that mistake in my SEC video and didn't realize that until afterwards. And as I was reading out my standings, I caught that mistake. So I'm glad I did that. But number 9, I have Iowa State. They do not bring back a lot from last year. They only have 5 starters on the offensive side of the football, 4 on the defensive side of the football. They actually lost their starting quarterback. Well, 2 starting quarterbacks that played a little bit last year. They also lose their big linebacker, A.J. Klein, Jake Knott. So it's going to be a rebuilding year for Iowa State. Have them going 3-9, 1-8 in Big 12 play. Have them beating Northern Iowa. Have them actually upsetting Iowa. I guess you could consider an upset. Both teams are pretty much evenly matched. And have them beating Kansas later on in the year. So losses come to Tulsa, Texas, Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, TCU, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. Toss-up games. Iowa's a toss-up game, definitely. Don't overlook Northern Iowa because Northern Iowa's played FBS teams very tough in the past couple of years. And Tulsa, I believe, will just beat them this year. Iowa State actually beat Tulsa last year by 15. They handled them quite well. But I still think Tulsa returns a lot from last year on Thursday night. And I've said this before, anything can happen on a Thursday night. And they beat Iowa last year and they're playing at home, so I think they'll be able to handle Iowa. But we'll have to see how Sam Richardson can do. They did lose Steve Jantz and Jared Barnett. There's the 2 quarterbacks who split time last year. Sam Richardson was 46-79, 8 touchdowns and 1 pick, so he's quite effective. James White comes back. He's a pretty good running back, probably one of the most underrated in the Big 12. So we'll have to see. And also, Chantrell Johnson comes back, and Sam Richardson can run the ball as well. So he's a dual threat type quarterback. And they lost their top 3 receivers in Josh Lynch, Chris Youngs, Aaron Horn. They bring back Ernst Brunn, Jarvis West, and Quentin Bundredge. And on the defensive front, like I said, they only bring back 4 starters on the defensive side of the football. That's going to be a big loss because their defense wasn't that bad last year. Actually, I guess I could say this one of the best in the Big 12. But on the defensive side of the football, like I said, there's not a lot of talent there. Probably the best player looking at their starting 11. Maybe Jacquez Washington, the safety, he's a pretty good safety, one of the best in the Big 12 actually, and maybe Jeremiah George, the starting linebacker, who's actually going to be a senior this year, and Jansen Watson's also a senior. So they have a couple seniors on this defense, but not a lot of experience. So Iowa State 3-9 in Big 12 play, 1-8. Don't expect it to be a successful year, but have them actually finish ahead of Kansas, which kind of confused me, like I said. Kansas, I have them coming in last place in the Big 12, but they're going to be better than I think in the years past, because they went 1-11 last year, so they're going to, I believe, be improved from last year, definitely, and they haven't won a Big 12 game in I don't know how long. but I have them going 4-8, 1-8 in Big 12 play. Reason they're behind Iowa State once again is because I have them losing to Iowa State. Wins coming against South Dakota, Rice, Louisiana Tech to start the year. Losses against all the other wins against West Virginia, which I guess you consider an upset. Losses against Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma, Baylor, Texas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Kansas. That Louisiana Tech game can be a toss-up game, and they did actually struggle with South Dakota State last year, and they lost to Rice last year. But a big part of that was the struggle of the quarterback, Dane Chris. And actually, later on in the season, they benched him and put in Michael Cummings, who's a shorter type of quarterback, runs the ball a little bit more. And they really didn't get to their normal style of offense last year because the quarterback struggles. Michael Cummings runs the ball a lot more effectively than he passes the ball, and Dane Chris was not effective at all. And Kansas and Charlie Weiss, they like to throw the ball quite a bit. But with the quarterback struggles, and they have a really talented quarterback in James Sims coming back, I think I just caught myself here. If I'm not mistaken, I think I messed up when I was talking about West Virginia because they have a transfer coming in, running back from Houston. And let me check my notes real fast. That's what it was. Charles Sims is his name, not James Sims, the running back from Houston going to West Virginia. Sorry about that. Hope you guys forgive me there if you're still listening and you're a West Virginia fan. But James Sims is the quarterback that comes back for Kansas, or the running back that comes back for Kansas. Sorry, I'm screwing up here. He was actually very talented. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year, 1,048 yards. Tony Pearson also comes back. He's the H-back. He ran for 790 yards. Taylor Cox comes back, 479 yards. And like I said, Michael Cummings had over 200 yards rushing, playing quarterback. But at the quarterback position, they have the guy that they hope to be their savior, Jake Heaps, who Charlie Weiss actually recruited coming out of high school when he was at Notre Dame. Jake Heaps actually ended up committing to BYU out of high school, went to BYU, transferred, lost a starting job. That's why he transferred to Kansas. And he sat behind Dane Christ a year, and he actually had to sit out last year because Dane Christ got to play right away because he had already graduated, and Jake Heaps had a year had to sit out a year because he was a transfer and did not get eligible right away. But they don't bring back their top wide receiver in Kale Pick, but it's kind of hard to judge who their best wide receivers come back this year is because not many of them put up good stats last year because of the struggles at the quarterback position. But they do have back Tony Pearson, who's gotten a lot out of the backfield, Andrew Terzil, Jimmy Mundine, James Sims caught a little bit out of the backfield, had over 100 yards, Chris Ameji, Trey Parmalee. So it's going to be tough to see how Kansas can play this year. They have 5 guys back on the offensive side of the football, 4 on the defensive side of the football. But I think a big thing is the fact that Jake Heaps is coming back, and I believe he's going to be a lot better than their quarterbacks have been in the last couple of years. Probably the best quarterback actually since Todd Reesing at Kansas. And if his wide receiver targets can turn out to be quite good, and the offensive line, which is senior led, have actually it's quite experienced. They have 2 seniors and 3 juniors, and on the defensive side of the football, they are going to have a bunch of juniors. So next year, they're actually going to be more experienced on the defensive side of the ball, and Jake Heaps will come back next year as well. So I believe Kansas is a year away from maybe competing for a bowl game, but they'll be definitely better than their 11-1 record from last year, and have them going 4-8, 1-8 in Big 12 play. And they don't have that easy of a schedule either. They play a very tough schedule. Everybody in the Big 12 plays tough schedules because the fact that they play everybody because they have 10 teams and only have 3 out-of-conference games. So, all in all, that's pretty much it on Kansas. Guys on the defense side of the football, let me look at my notes real quick who I have as the best guys on Kansas's defense. Have Marquell Combs, a D tackle. He should be one of the best guys. Oh yeah. Ben Heaney, the linebacker, is actually quite impressive for Kansas. He's probably one of the best linebackers actually in the Big 12, and he's actually a white guy, and I always pull for the white white linebackers. So that's just me. But that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and leave a like. I know a lot of people probably disagree with me. They always do. But this is just my opinion, and you have your opinion as well. And if that's the case, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you disagree with, and let me know what your conference standings are for the Big 12, your predictions for this upcoming season. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Roll Tide, go Sox, and go Titans. See you later, and peace out.